All right, and the last of the big four, this is Consumer City. This paper represented a major shift in how economists thought about why cities exist and grow. So traditionally, we've thought of cities as engines of production. So firms locate close to each other to share suppliers, to exchange ideas, and to tap into deeper labor markets. But here, they ask a slightly different question. What if cities succeed because people actually like living there? They argue that consumption increasingly drives urban growth, and that a reliance on models focusing on production would not make good predictions into the future. This is really a forward-looking piece. As the US economy has become more service-based and as people's incomes have risen, we spend a greater share of our money on things that cities provide best. Things like restaurants, theaters, parks, social activities. Since the 1970s, cities with more consumption amenities have grown faster in population and in housing prices. Now, they also find evidence that these cities tend to attract more educated residents. These are people who value variety and culture and who can afford to enjoy it. Now, I suggested that you think about whether they're missing any costs or benefits in their analysis and discussion. Then I asked you to consider whether these things they were missing were important. I like to do this when I'm reading something, especially if it's like somewhat connected to my research area. If they're missing something that's important in their model, that could change their results. And that's important to be able to recognize. But if they aren't really important to the model, if including them or removing them doesn't change the findings, it could be an interesting wrinkle for you to work with to take their work in a new direction. So now the authors, they provide some clear evidence for their ideas about cities being consumer-based. So, for example, cities with more restaurants per capita or with better weather have experienced faster growth. Now, hearing about people moving to the Sun Belt is old news by now, but at the time, this was newer information. This was much more like breaking news than the old stuff that we think about today. They also find that employment and service sectors that cater to consumers, so things like entertainment, retail, and personal services, these are a key part of urban revival. This implies that policymakers can't just focus on firm subsidies or industrial recruitment like they often do. A successful city also invests in quality of life for residents or allows the quality of life to improve. So Consumer City gives us a framework for understanding the modern urban landscape, while more people's lives involve more than just chasing jobs. It's also a good reminder that urban economists focus on human beings. And I don't mean this in a corny way or a way to kind of, water down the analysis. But what I mean is that our models of people's decision making has to actually match what people do and what thoughts go into making those decisions. We can't just ignore aspects of people's lives if they're important and if they drive decision making. Even if it's difficult to get data to actually test those hypotheses, we should include them when we're thinking about how people approach these decisions. Now, as you read this and as you think about it afterwards, think about your own preferences. What makes a city attractive to you? Is it only the job market? Or do other things matter, like food, music, family and friends, or even just the energy or the vibes of the place?